So I was out for a walk in Reservoir Park, and the cloudy sky and buildings and dry grass created these stripes of color and texture that I found very compelling. I chose this flecked, deep maroon paper to highlight the brick red of the center building and contrast with the blue sky and green golden field. 3/4-inch painter's tape for the frame and defining the sections. I'm making extra sure the edges are stuck down securely this time. Since the paper is so dark, I'm starting the sky section with titanium white. I'm genuinely surprised at the coverage, as I was worried it would be too translucent. For the grass section, I've chosen the world's Goldest gold, a smooth, quite opaque, warm-toned gold that covers the dark paper with basically one coat. I'm hoping the world's Silveriest silver will be a more steely color for the underside of the clouds, but it's so reflective the deeper tone really isn't visible. Next, I use Iridescent Pearl Fine for the rest of the sky, where I want more luminance than the satin finish of titanium white. As I go back and forth to give things a chance to dry, I brush on Interference Gold Fine. I'm thinking its subtle blue reflect will do something interesting here. Over these shimmery bases, I'm bringing in some watercolors. My plan is to keep these colors very light, so the paper doesn't buckle even more than it is from the dampness. Cerulean blue is semi-transparent, giving me good light blue pigment without obscuring the shimmer too much. And Payne's gray helps to bring out the cloud's shadows, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm mixing the silver with Payne's gray to see if it will tint the acrylic paint. I'm very pleased with the results. It now looks like I imagined it would with just the silver. High on that success, I mix the cerulean with iridescent pearl to soften the transition between the white and the blue. Tinting metallic acrylics with watercolors is a great development, and I'm excited to expand the places I can use them. To tone down some of the reflective pearlescence, I add some titanium white. I'm using yellow ochre on its own first, and its smooth application leaves a semi-opaque finish that helps ground the gold. The dry brush works to soften the edges of the ochre. I'm going to put down a layer of sap green mixed with interference gold, since there is very little new grass visible in the field, and I just want the smallest tinge of green. I'm stopping here for today to let the piece dry. Here we are at day 2. I turn on the lights, but have missed my exposure mark by the time they fully warm up. When I saw the blown-out highlights while reviewing the footage, I was kicking myself the rest of the day. But that's the risk of documenting a painting process that only happens once. Fortunately, this section is mostly about painting shapes, and you'll get to see the colors more clearly soon. The tape repositioning goes without a hitch, and we can get back to it. I'm starting with iridescent copper, fine. This is thick and reasonably opaque, and I really like how it looks against the paper. The triangle is a reference to the tiled roof among the buildings, even though the roof isn't exactly a triangle. I'm lightening up the iridescent bronze fine with titanium white to create the pale beige of the cylindrical structures. It turns out a little darker than I'd like, so I add some interference gold over top of it. That's closer. Here's where my sense of the right color goes off the rails a bit. Primary yellow seemed like the best choice, but as soon as I applied it, I knew I was wrong. There are bright yellow stripes on the building under construction in the video, but primary yellow is too translucent and looks almost green over the beige. I spread it around and blend it, but it doesn't get better. This time, I'll add even more white to the bronze, and that covers it up, also removing the feeling like I spread mustard everywhere. I'm going to deepen the triangle with Indian red. This watercolor paints almost like acrylic since it is so richly pigmented. I blend out the edges of the triangle with a dry brush. Then I put down more titanium white mixed with interference gold. I use some interference red fine as an accent along the triangle's base. I like the placement, but the paint's shimmer looks too pink, which you'll have to take my word for. Then I bring in trusty Payne's gray to add some dark shapes on either side of the triangle, and I'm noticing a strong Hilma off Clint vibe that I decide is working for me. To remedy the pink of the interference red, I mix some copper with interference gold, and the color works much better. I buff it with the dry brush, then wait for it to dry. Lighting exposure corrected, I can move on to the final touches. The tape is removed from yesterday's sections with no issue, and I can finally get a sense of how each part is working with the others. Just now remembering I need water. I want to add some cerulean blue to the cloud's shadows, and the light wash shifts the tint just enough. By blending the yellow ochre with the cool tone of Payne's gray, I'm able to get a darker color that almost approaches green without being too green. I add some iridescent pearl back to the clouds, and it's done. I remove the tape frame, and the impact of the dark paper surprises me at first. Then, as my vision settles, I feel like my choice works the way I initially wanted. This was quite a process. I think the sharply defined stripes worked the way I hoped, but I'm a little on the fence about my use of shapes. What was a success was tinting the iridescent acrylics with watercolors. Several of the colors wouldn't have been quite right without them. This feels like one of those pieces that I'm not sure will be my favorite, but I'll definitely have a lot to think about each time I look at it. Yeah, a very interesting walk.